Okay, gotta start breathing deeper, man. Okay, all right, okay. So, try not to delay. Whatever. I'm not a good like YouTuber yet. All right, so today I'm gonna be talking about schizophrenia and psychosis. Been it's kind of been on my mind lately a bit, so we're gonna talk about them. And yeah, I'm gonna basically read to you my set of propositions. So well, I guess it makes sense first of all to look up the definition of schizophrenia. There we go. Um, it's a chronic and severe mental disorder that affects how a person thinks, feels, and acts. Individuals with the condition often lose touch with reality, leading to disruptions in daily functioning, relationships, and self-care. Symptoms typically fall within three main categories: psychotic, positive symptoms. These distort a person's thinking. They include hallucinations, seeing or hearing things that don't exist. Don't exist. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Like hearing voices, delusions, strongly held false beliefs not based in reality, and thought disorders, unusual or disorganized thinking. Right. So, those are related as far as I'm concerned, thought disorders and delusions. But negative symptoms, these refer to elements that are missing from normal behavior, such as a reduced ability to show emotions, flattened affect, lack of motivation, social withdrawal, or speaking in a dull, monotone voice. Cognitive symptoms, these affect memory, attention, and executive functions, making it difficult to process information, make decisions, or concentrate on tasks. All right, I guess we'll talk about that too. Okay, cause remains unknown. Yeah, because we're idiots and all that. Yeah, of course. So we have trauma. Adolescence or adulthood. Okay, that's interesting. Gender difference. Okay, now and also speaking of just stuff, here's I just before this updated my trauma-based psychopathology model. This was the previous version, and then I updated it to this right here. So I like kind of assigned it, and then I put the date here. Yeah, I feel like this makes sense because then I feel like you kind of naturally know to start here at the bottom. So yeah, because I showed it to some people and they're kind of like, okay, and then like start where it says trauma occurs, and I realized I should probably like make some kind of visual difference or change to make that I guess more obvious. But yeah, so and then I also changed this right here, the wording here. And I think I accidentally made it. Yeah, that text is a little bit bigger than this. I didn't mean to do that, but whatever. I don't really care. It's all there. It's all there. So, yeah, my ear. I gotta try to clean out my ear. Anyway. So yeah. So this is it. Yeah, I like it. I don't know. Maybe I'll end up changing it again. Probably not. We'll see. We'll see. But for now, this is the complete, updated, and signed with the date version. So, yeah. Now, let's get back to this. Right. So, okay. So let's start with delusions, I suppose. These are literally just like my thoughts. Like I said, like my set of propositions. Essentially, it's a good way to describe them, I think. Delusions are a result of pathological over-inclusive thinking. Right now, if you don't know what over-inclusive thinking is, I've explained it before in some videos, or at least in one other video. But it's essentially the proclivity toward like including certain things, or technically delusional thinking is an inability to maintain conceptual boundaries. And so if someone has a proclivity toward over-inclusive thinking, their brain naturally struggles to maintain conceptual boundaries. Now that can be good, because that's kind of how creativity. What would you say? It's the primary, not factor, but primary hallmark, I guess you could say, of creativity, is that ability to essentially like see a connection where most people wouldn't see a connection. That's rough, but that's pretty accurate. So I've used this example before, but I'll use it again. Like if you tell someone to name vehicles. Like most people would say like car, bike, maybe motorcycle, truck, moped. What else? Vehicle. Like train, plane. Like those are pretty common responses. But if someone who has a proclivity toward over-inclusive thinking might say feet, because like feet take you from point A to point B, or they might say, I don't know, like hoverboard, feet, hoverboard. What else? Like roller skates, skateboard, stuff like that. By the way, this is something I have. I naturally have this tendency. This is how my brain works. For better or for worse, I suppose. But I mean, it is a good thing for creativity. Anyway, yeah, and so because like you can sort of like, okay, so for example, feet, right? It's like, well, yeah, they get you from point A to point B, so it kind of makes sense to include that. But most people wouldn't include feet, right? But that kind of thinking is how creative ideas end up coming into being or existing, I guess. Yeah. So okay, so my proposition is that delusions are maybe not merely, but at least essentially the result of like basically over-inclusive thinking turned up to its limit, or like times 100, or you could just say pathological over-inclusive thinking. And I think also it's worth saying that, I think, hold on, let's see. Because if you think about it, like, if someone's just like, if you include too many things in the category of, let's say, vehicle, for example, then you could say like, oh, a ball, like ball. Oh, a ball is a vehicle because it's a thing that gets from point A to point B, or it's a thing that can be rolled from one place to another. So it gets from point A to point B, but it's like, no. Like that's too far. Like a ball is not a vehicle, right? But if you just like are purely, I guess thinking over inclusively, if that makes sense, you'd be like, no, it is. It's a vehicle. It's like, no, it's not. That's you would say like, that's false. That's delusional. Like a ball is not, I mean, delusional is, yeah, it essentially is like, it's not true. Like a ball is not a vehicle. We can't say that, but feet, kind of, yeah, you could make that case. It's a stretch, but again, it is the sort of thinking that leads to novel and useful ideas or creative ideas. And so, yeah. So, I think you kind of see what I'm saying with that. So, yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about psychosis, right? My cat is in her litter box scratching. Kitty, kitty. So this is milk, by the way. It's really good. Vitamin D milk. All right. So psychosis is a result of the brain being stuck in sheer perception mode. It's. I guess I should say it's essentially. Well, I think it is. Is it essentially, or is it just merely? Well, I think it's simply uncontrolled observation. And then I have this quote: "If we saw reality as it truly were, we would all go insane." I still can't find the origin of this quote, but I saw it on a YouTube video in the thumbnail, and like if I look it up, I can't. I guess I'll keep that open. If we or it's either go insane or lose our minds or something. Like I don't remember. Yeah, that's a heavy, but like, I know I saw it though in a YouTube thumbnail. It's not Jimmy Buffett. No. Belle, what's the matter? Why are you crying? Why are you crying? She's a cute kitty. Yeah, I pet you. You're so soft. All right. But yeah. Anyway, there's this idea, right? That and this is my blog. Okay, so kids are good at seeing reality in sheer perception mode. Their brain is often, as they're going about their day, like their brain is most of the time, like when they're awake, it's in sheer perception mode most of the time. But then as we get older and older, our brain realizes, okay, like labels, essentially, categories, are important and actually crucial in order for us to understand the world. And so that's why we learn words and how to identify things and categorize them, to help us make sense of the world. Because otherwise, it's just too much. It's simply too much. Like we can't just and that's the thing. That's what happens. Psychosis. If our brain never learns how to perceive categorically, I'll say, or like switch to categorical perception mode, you could say that, then we can't function. We lose touch with reality. I mean, see, that's a complicated concept because well, I guess I'll get into it in a little while, but so that's the thing. Like sheer perception mode is great. Like it's great to be able to sort of like switch to that mode while on command. That's something I've been trying to explore is what would happen if you taught someone's brain how to switch to sheer perception mode on command, like without taking shrooms or LSD or anything like that, just like on command. And I think it's possible. In fact, I think that's essentially what Chase Hughes tried to do. I think that's exactly what Chase Hughes tried to do with his most recent book called Tongue. Like he was trying to use, whether he realized it or not, which I guess he didn't, because, well, if you've read the book, you know, but it's not a well-read or well-known book, but, or widely read book, I should say. But like he was trying to use words to basically like teach whoever was reading it how to stop instantly labeling things and how to switch to sheer perception mode. You know, because we all used to do it a lot more frequently when we were kids, right? Like all the time. Well, not all the time, but that's the thing. Like when we were babies, we actually did it like all the time. But at a very early age, I think it's like 1.5 or something. Vsauce talked about this in one of his episodes of Minefield. Divergent Minds was the video. He talks about how eventually like our brains realize like that's crazy. Like we can't just take in all this information and always, you know, because this will happen if we do. And so we learn how to categorize. We learn, I would say, how to perceive categorically, you know, how to perceive the world in a categorical manner. Is that the right way to say it? I think so. I think that makes sense. But so our brains learn how to do that at a very early age, but sometimes they don't because of, well, environmental factors, genetic factors. And so, let's see here. And matter of fact, okay. So I'll say, I could be wrong, but I highly suspect that when it comes to schizophrenia, this is genetic. I'm pretty sure that's true, or at least generally. But I guess like this is environmentally induced. Like the uncontrolled observation, like that part, as far as I can tell, is environmentally induced. At least most of the time. There's probably exceptions, but generally speaking. And so I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know, but as far as I can tell, I'm just like saying what I think is true. What seems to be the case to me. So, all right. So now let's see. I was about to say something else too. I think. What was I about to say? I guess it'll come back to me. Oh wait, I was about to say something about sheer perception mode. Oh, I think I was just gonna say with autism, like in the episode of Minefield, they're talking about autism and how someone who's autistic often appears like mentally slow it's because their brain is more often in sheer perception mode. And so like that's why the brain is taking in a lot more information, hence why they often appear slow. Now I guess that someone who's autistic doesn't have like this pathological over-inclusive thinking. Matter of fact, oh my gosh, it might be the exact opposite now that I'm thinking about it. because autistic people like their routine and their, so that's interesting. Categories. That's interesting. I'll have to think about that. I'll have to think about that one a bit more. But yeah, all right. So now, as far as I can tell, the thalamus seems to play a vital role in regulating perception. See, it's weird. I've seen. What's interesting, because I've seen a number of videos on Instagram lately about schizophrenia, and like there's apparently this one like teenager, like undergrad student who wrote a paper on schizophrenia, and she was telling people, she was like, guys, like it's the thalamus, like that's what it is, like they're not telling us the truth, like that is like the center for, like, it explains basically schizophrenia, or like essentially, or at least the core of it, I guess. And so I don't know, to me it kind of makes sense because, well, I don't know like brain chemistry and all the different sections of the brain super well. I'm more into like psychoanalysis and stuff, but I mean I love it all, like neurochemistry and, you know, neurology, but I'm not near as educated when it comes to like, well, neurology and the different sections of the brain. But it is like towards the center of the brain, which is interesting. So like I'll show you. So, oh wait, I wanted to keep that up. So let's see here. No, friggin' Control T. There we go. Thalamus in the brain. Let's see here. Yeah, see. So can I zoom in on that? Come on, Jarvis, zoom in. Whatever. Oh, okay. I was lagging. Deep in the center of the brain. Yeah. So like. Almost makes sense, like in a way it kind of oddly makes sense. It's like thing with the things, I guess okay, there's two structures, that's right, I forgot. Yeah, the things, the part of the brain or parts of the brain which regulate our very perception of the world, determine literally how we see the world, is in the center of the brain. Like that makes sense if you think about it in a way, like, you know what I mean, like it's not like the outer lobes, or, you know, the prefrontal cortex. It's not the cerebellum. You know, it's not even the brainstem. It's this thing right here, like, because okay. So the body central realization, processing, and routing almost all sensory and motor signals to the cerebral cortex for interpretation, while also playing a vital role in regulating sleep and alertness. Yeah, so sensory relay essentially. So it's very interesting, right? And that makes perfect sense. So that's why it makes perfect sense to me. That is like, I think that girl, whatever her name was right, or is right. So yeah. Now, I mean, what exactly is going wrong in the thalamus? I don't know. You know, I'm not that educated. Like, I guess I need to read some more articles and stuff, perhaps. But it seems to certainly play a vital role when it comes to, well, regulating perception, and as a result, schizophrenia. Because, I mean, again, like, as far as I can tell, this is what psychosis is. And then, yeah, I mean, over-inclusive thinking, too, it's like, well, there's a relationship between the two, as far as I can tell. So, yeah, I mean, like, I've talked about this. I mean, I've had hypomanic episodes, not full-blown like manic episodes, but I've had hypomanic episodes. And so, like that delusion sort of part of, or yeah, like I've definitely had those thoughts of like, wow, like everything's connected. Like I can just see everything. And like, I'm glad I haven't had a hypomanic episode in a while. Probably because I started taking my health more seriously, and also, well, I'm sure it's also a consequence of my experimentation with psilocybin mushrooms. But yeah, like it's interesting because it feels like, it makes you, like, the way I would describe it is I feel high. I feel so high. I feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm so high. But like, so it feels good. It feels like a drug, really. But like, it is not good. It's not good. It feels good, but it's not. I mean, in the moment, I guess it's good in terms of how you feel, but it's just not healthy. It's not healthy to be having hypomanic episodes, or worse, manic episodes, which thankfully I've never experienced. But yeah. So anyway, yeah. So if you see me like closing my eyes, it's because they're just bright. I'm trying to like, otherwise the lighting kind of sucks, and It's on the lowest setting, but it's still pretty bright. So yeah, now, okay. So how do we get someone out of psychosis? I don't know, maybe you've already read this, but well, how about by directing electricity to the thalamus, and maybe other brain regions too, but like mostly to the thalamus, I guess. Now, hypnosis may be the best way to do this. I said people with schizophrenia. Yeah, people with. I don't know why. I changed that because I thought I made a mistake. Yeah, schizophrenics or people with schizophrenia seem to be more suggestible than average anyway. So, and like, I don't know. I mean, I don't think this has been proven. Well, Schizo Kitso. look at her. Look at her recent posts. Actually, watch if you want to. Watch the now 3 posts I've made about her, and I think you'll kind of see what I mean as far as suggestibility. Now she's one person, but if you have enough, it's more. Eventually it becomes data. So yeah. Now, here's the thing, like directing electricity to the thalamus. So here's the incredible power of language, right? Is that it can be used to direct electricity. So that's the thing. That's why language, and that's why I think Chase's book, Tongue, if it's read with an open mind, can be, I think it can be an amazing book. But you have to read it with the right frame of mind, you could say. So, yeah, let's see, is that... trying to think if I should move this. No, that's fine. So, yeah, like words can direct electricity. That's one reason they're so powerful. I mean, reality is made up of words, which I've explained in depth, I guess, a couple times on my channel. So I have like 3 videos on that, or at least 2 videos. Anyway, 3 videos, I think. Anyway, so yeah, but... Okay. So yeah, hypnosis may be the best way to do this. I mean, I don't know, maybe not, but see that I'm really not sure about. But it might be the best way to do that. Now, okay, so using the trauma-based psychopathology, I friggin' blanked out there for a second. Using the trauma-based psychopathology model, we know there's a central false belief at the base of the disorder. The mammalian brain believes, for some reason, I say like believes, but you know what I mean. The mammalian brain believes, for some reason, the brain needs to chronically be in sheer perception mode. So, what we need to do is we need to convince the mammalian brain that sheer perception mode is not always necessary and that it needs to learn / switch to categorical perception mode. We have to replace the false belief, which is something like, we need to always, or like I guess the brain needs to always use sheer perception mode to perceive, with something like we need, or the brain needs to use categorical perception more often than sheer perception when perceiving. So yeah, it's at least it's something like that at least. So yeah, I'm trying to think here. Because again, it's the whole thing with if we saw reality as it truly were, like we would just go insane or lose our minds. Essentially, it's like, and it's because, and I think I know exactly why. See, I think I've said this before, but again, I'm a Christian, so I'm going to talk about God a little bit here. But if we make the assumption, see, this is why it does make sense to me. Like, if we make the assumption that God created everything, right? Like everything that you see was created by either God or humans, but God created humans. So ultimately it was all created by God. He's the ultimate creator, right? I mean, humans create, but God created us. So everything was directly or indirectly created by God, if you see what I'm saying. Then we could say God is in everything, right? Because even stuff that humans created, like, I don't know, this microphone, which is a fine AM8, I have a bunch of USB mics here on my desk, or I don't know, this AirPod case, right? I got these for free, by the way, from Amazon. They just sent them to me. I think it's because I told them that they had lost me as a customer. They're like, oh, send him some AirPod 4s. Maybe he'll stay. Yeah, still probably not going to keep buying from Amazon Prime. Anyway, or from Amazon. But Nice try, Amazon. Because their shipping is just too inconsistent. Anyway, that's besides the point. But like, God didn't technically create this; a human did, or a factory. But we created the factory. You know what I'm saying? But God created the people that created this. So indirectly, God created this. If you get what I'm saying. So with that, keeping that in mind, we can say that God is in everything, right? Because he's the ultimate creator. Everything leads back to God, ultimately. So, this is so cool to me. Like, this just makes sense to me. If we were to fully understand something, like not only, like I can look at this case and I know what it is. Oh, it's an AirPod case. And see, again, labeling with language. But if I don't label, and if I just look at it, well, I can learn a lot of things, first of all. Like, I may notice this line and, like, I don't know, these words on the back here and kind of just the shape. And actually what I'm noticing right now is, like, this hinge looks like it's a bit uneven. I literally just noticed that just now. So anyway, when you stop labeling, you observe things, or you learn things, right? Because you're observing, like, well, it's sheer perception. You're, like, taking in much more information. So this is why, well, I have a theory for how to increase general intelligence, and it has to do with this. Have I explained it before here? I don't think so. But anyway, so yeah, I still need to do like a study for that, but I need participants. I'm gonna have to pay people probably ultimately, but we'll see. So yeah, but essentially, if I were to fully apprehend anything, any object, anything, then that would mean I understood it in its entirety, not just perceived it and understood it at some level, like not just conceptualized it and understood it in that way, but actually understood it completely, fully apprehended it. I would die, or I would go insane, or like because you can't fit the universe in your head, and if everything reflects God is in everything, then to fully apprehend anything would be to fully apprehend God. And that's impossible. So that's why it's like the way God made us, we're limited in our perceptions. And so, like, doesn't that just make sense? To me, this makes perfect sense. It's like God is in everything. If we were to fully, not just like perceive and conceptualize something, but fully understand it. I mean, that would mean like we would literally understand how the atoms all interact and like everything, you know, the quarks, like how it all works. Like, but again, it's like, because think about it, like there's chaos and order and chaos, right? Like this looks very ordered and solid and yeah, like put together, I guess. But this is how it looks on a macro scale. Like if we were to zoom in far enough, the atoms that make up this would look a lot less stable and ordered, right? That's the chaos element, right? And so, well, I guess that's the thing, right? Is like nobody can... Dude, see, that's the thing about creation. Chaos and order have to touch. It's incredible. And so, like, there's something like magical almost about that. And it's like we can't fully comprehend it. God can, but we can't. And so, if we were to try to, like, again, if we were to try to fully apprehend anything, we would lose our minds, or we would just, like, lose touch with this reality, at least, you know. And I guess actually, I guess what you could say is our mind would be chronically sort of lost in the chaos. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. We'd be lost in the chaos. And that is like kind of, I guess people who are in psychosis, that's basically what they're experiencing. They're just like sort of like swimming in chaos. Because again, their brain is chronically stuck in sheer perception mode. They're not categorizing any of their perceptions, which your brain has to do in order to stay sane, because you have to have chaos and order, like, you know. So anyway, let's see. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. But yeah, and the way you know, the thing about beliefs is you have to replace them. You can't just like, oh no, that's memories. I'm getting that mixed up. But I mean, it's also true with beliefs, as far as I can tell. You know, I mean, how do you defeat lies with truth? How do you replace false beliefs with true beliefs? And so that's how we do it as far as I'm concerned. Someone prove me wrong. I don't know. As far as I can tell, this thing is complete and true, I'll say. Like meaning like I've properly identified the underlying pattern which lies at the base of any psychopathology. Now again, someone prove me wrong. Like, tell me something I'm missing. But as far as I can tell, it's all here. And now it's like packed in here. It's all packed in here, but it's all here. So, and I guess like the one thing I could add is like, for these two things, it's like, there is a spiritual element, like a demonic element. Satan and, they yeah. I've seen some shit, like, on shrooms, and I think I told you, like, one time, God cured my OCD. It was on almost exactly a month ago, just over. May 25th, actually. God cured my OCD, and it was remarkable, and there was definitely a demonic element, I could tell. And so, well, I mean, Satan's the father of lies, the master of deception, so it makes perfect sense. He gets our body, or he sends his demons to try to get our body or our minds to believe something that's not true. And that's how psychopathology begins developing, and that's how it emerges. I mean, I'm just telling you guys, it's false beliefs. That's what it is. It's what it is, bro. It's false beliefs. Either our body or our mind believes it. Or it starts in either our body or mind, although again, it going back to this, it eventually inevitably affects both, since the body and mind are inextricably linked, or connected. So, yeah, but yeah. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the way to cure schizophrenia is, I mean, it's a spectrum ultimately, but like, I guess the fundamental solution, or something in my eye. The typical solution, I suppose, is to, convince the mammalian brain that, you need to start, like, either learning how to categorize when perceiving, or if the brain already knows how to do that, then just like doing that more often, like switching to categorical perception mode more frequently. So, yeah, I swear this light is getting bright, dude, for real. I need to end this video so I can turn it off. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. Psychotic, positive symptoms. Distort a person's thinking, they include hallucinations. All right, now, I think I've made my position pretty clear on hallucinations, which is that I believe that at least in most cases, or we'll say at least in many cases, they're not generated by the brain, but rather they are, essentially information from another dimension. I would say the astral dimension. And I've had some hallucinations. Well, I had exploding head syndrome for a little while back when I worked at Ingalls and was kind of struggling psychologically. I had that, experienced that a number of times. And then one time, it was literally the day after I felt like I'd figured out, or like started figuring out schizophrenia. At least that's what I thought. Literally the day after, that morning, I heard voices. I've talked about this before. I heard whispers. It was like right as I woke up, before I was like really awake, I heard whispering in my room. It sounded like it was coming from basically where I'm standing. I was in my bed. I was like, that's weird. Went back to sleep. I heard it 2 more times, because usually I go back to sleep because the sun rises early and all that. Anyway, it happened 2 more times where I heard just these whispers. I didn't know what they said, but definitely heard whispers, and like that never happens. So it's like coincidence? I think not. Like the day after, I feel like I'm thinking, pretty sure I've figured out essentially like schizophrenia, and now I didn't get like this far, but like I figured out the basics, or at least I felt like I'd figured out the basic way it works. And literally like 3 times I heard whispers in my room. That's the only time that's ever happened. Again, coincidence? I think not. Like some spiritual was going on. Like, anyway, eventually though, like what I did literally, I just like opened my Bible, and I just said like, I spoke the name of Jesus. Really, it's what I did, and then I prayed, and And I said, like, if y'all are gonna try to like stop me from speaking the truth, as best I can about various mental disorders like schizophrenia, too bad. Like, you're not gonna stop me. Like if y'all have a problem with it, too bad. If y'all think you can stop me, if you're not, you can't. Like, I've got Jesus on my side. Like, too bad. And guess what? I didn't hear him after that. So now those were external hallucinations, not like what schizo, or is it schizo, has, which are internal auditory hallucinations. I've never experienced that, but I have had exploding head syndrome, which was like in my head. So, but never voices like that. So anyway, but yeah. So that's sort of my position on hallucinations, is that they're at least generally, because I just don't, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if they're internal auditory hallucinations, it could be like being generated by the brain. I suppose it really is possible, given the fact that, well, like, personality is incredibly complex, and like DID very much exists. So just kind of keeping that in mind, I guess that does make sense. So maybe I was wrong about that. Maybe it's just when it's an external auditory hallucination, it's something spiritual. You're tapping into the frequency of, well, something like that. The astral dimension, or the spiritual world, spiritual dimension, however you want to say it. But yeah, still. So yeah. Okay, and then delusions. I talked about that pretty much. Unusual thought disorders. It's like akin to like mania. I mean, I think that's really strongly tied to delusions, which I feel like I already explained. So yeah. Now, negative symptoms. What's that missing? Okay, so that's like essentially what's akin to anhedonia. It's not the same thing though. Like motivation. That's kind of like depression, almost, sort of. I guess, sort of. I mean, reduced ability to show emotion, and that would just be what? I mean, when your perception itself is screwed up, like, your emotions are going to be messed up. So I'm trying to think. Flattened effect is what that's called. It's not much I can think of to say about that. Reduced emotions. Yeah, I don't know. But, and then cognitive symptoms, these affect memory, attention, and executive functions. Right, well, I guess that now these things very much have to do with like the prefrontal cortex, as far as I'm concerned. At least that's like those tasks are mostly prefrontal cortex is mostly responsible for that. Well, I know. Well, memory, it's memory is the oh gosh, hippocampus. Yeah, I remember that one. Get it? I remember that. But executive functions, from what I understand, are very much in the prefrontal cortex. So, yeah, I mean, what is there to say about that? Again, I think when like basically like something like like a section of your brain that's in like the center of your brain is not functioning right, it's going to affect the outer layers. I guess that's what I'll say. Because, yeah, difficult to process information. Well, yeah, it's like everything is information, really. So, like, naturally, I mean, if your perception is off, essentially, your thalamus is not functioning as it should be, then, yeah, I mean, things are going to be difficult because everything's information. So, yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay, well, I think I already said, I think genetics mostly correlate with the over-inclusive thinking aspects. And then brain chemistry, well, yeah, if your body believes something, it's going to change brain chemistry, and yeah. And then, sorry. And then environmental factors, that would be what can cause psychosis. Yeah, essentially something in your environment causes your mammalian brain to believe, oh, we need to just we need to just stay in sheer perception mode, which again normally never happens, like because our brain realizes that's crazy. It's too much information. But something happens. See, it's a very difficult thing to try to figure out, but yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that. Like something occurs which causes the mammalian brain to, which is a big part of the brain, to be like, oh, we need to stay in sheer perception mode. Okay. And then that creates problems, obviously, because it's not supposed to happen. So yeah, trauma. Again, it's trauma. Which again, trauma is what happens inside you. As far as this, yeah, I mean, I guess it's good. Like medication. I mean, you know how I feel about medication if you've watched my other videos, or some of them. But yeah, CBT apparently can help. Yeah, I mean, really, I just want to I want to experiment with hypnosis with this, unless it's like dangerous for some reason. But if not, I want to try hypnosis. I don't know, for some reason, I just feel like it could work. This is interesting. So that almost looks like it's like you're wrestling with your conscience or something. So like motivation, science, yeah, flattened effect. It's the emotional deadness, essentially. I guess is interesting. Why so blurry? There we go. That aren't there. What do you mean aren't there? So that's what I'm... Because you're basing it off of this like three-dimensional world. So it's like, are they really not there? Like maybe. Again, maybe. Well, again, I guess I would say... yeah, I've kind of revised my position, which is if it's an internal auditory hallucination, it is coming from your own brain. Like your brain's producing it, and it's... As far as I can tell, it has to do with the... Like there's different aspects of your personality that like take on their own voices, essentially. I guess that's what happens. I don't know. It's complicated. I'd have to think about that some more. But yeah. So that's if it's an internal hallucination. Whereas if it's an external hallucination, then it's something spiritual. Like it's spirits or demons or yeah. What was it? My dad, not too long ago, my dad said he met someone like at his house. He works at Miracle Hill, by the way, and he was talking to him about God and stuff, and he said that he was apparently schizophrenic and he had external auditory hallucinations. And the guy said, he was like, I think there's something spiritual. It's like, yeah, I think you're right, dude. I agree. Like, I don't have it, but once like I said, heard whispers in my room. And so, yeah, I think it's spiritual. It certainly seems to be, as far as I can tell, it is. So, yeah, and then I talked about this essentially. Oh, that's interesting. Never really heard of that. Abnormal motor behavior. Well, that's because, oh, shoot. Well, there's a video of Schizo and Psychosis, and I think I kind of saw that. Okay, ooh, yeah, it's crazy, bro. Because what it looked like was she looked like she was like getting chills, which, well, what is frisson? A lot of people think it's prana or chi. As far as I can tell, that's accurate. That's true. It is. So I just put this together, bro. Like what Kit was experiencing in that video. What is it? Those chills that it's hard to watch, honestly, but it's crazy. But could it be spirits trying to feed on your life force? That almost gives me chills. But no, I do believe, I mean, based on my experience with my own OCD and what I experienced on shrooms, yes, that seems accurate. That absolutely makes sense to me. Like, think about it. Like, I hope Kit would start watching some of my videos. Like, because I watched that video and I was like, dang, that's crazy. And, like, not good. Like, but there's a spiritual element, I'm telling you. Like, what I really don't... Here's the thing I just really don't understand about Kit is that she once admitted in that post about the LGBT, the one I analyzed, her coming out as whatever the heck she called herself, like 6, it was like 5, I think it was like 5 different terms, made up words essentially. She'll say that and she'll explain all these things. She'll speak with such certainty. But then she'll say, like she said in that post, something like, why is this something? I don't know. I forget exactly what she said, but she said like, the heck if I know. Like I don't understand my own brain. Or I think she said, the heck if I understand my own brain. It's like, so you're literally admitting that you don't understand your own brain, but yet like you speak so confidently about certain things. Like I get that she talks about her experience as someone with schizoaffective disorder. I get that. And she tries to educate people. But certain things she says, and I'm just like, how can you speak with such confidence about that when you've literally admitted that like you really don't understand your own brain? Like it just doesn't make sense. It's an incongruency that I've observed, and it's just like I kind of wish you would address it. Like I don't know, because I talked about that in the video. Like it's called Analyzing Kit Wallace post about Pride Month, or post. What am I saying? Post about Pride Month, and so that's the thing. It's like she speaks with such confidence, and like a lot of things, like yeah, I mean, she is right. Like she's talking about her experience, and all that. But other things, I'm just like, Kit, like what? Like you say this, but then you speak with such confidence about this. Like how can you do that when you literally admit that you really don't understand your brain very well at all? Like certainly not fully, right? And yeah, it's like no wonder. I mean, the human psyche is extraordinarily, like ridiculously complex. I mean, probably because we're made in the image of God, and God is infinite. So it's like, yeah, imagine that. Or yeah, I mean, but yeah, so Alogia, never heard of that. That sounds like almost, what's it called? Kit has talked about this too. Oh gosh, it's when you basically are frozen, but that's, I guess, part of that. It's not the same thing. Anhedonia, yeah. Apathy, yeah. Now I've had apathy, I've had anhedonia, and I guess I actually have had blunted effects. Actually, I've had all of these, but yeah, I mean, well, ever since the concussion, my brain, well, now it's a lot better. Now I've managed it a lot better, and my brain still will do some weird things sometimes, but it's a lot better now. But yeah, for a while I was just like, I never knew exactly what my brain was doing or what was going on in my brain, especially in my senior year of high school. I spent a lot of time just disconnected from myself and just like in an anhedonic state, like, and yeah, just like basically dissociated. And yeah, it's bad. But I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, it's well, I'm trying to think. I just feel like I can make some more connections. Let me think here. Trying to deduce right now. I don't know. I'll think about that. Maybe make another video. But anyway, so yeah. Okay, it's interesting here. That's an interesting image. It's kind of schizophrenia, hallucination, delusions, flight effects, maybe. Paucity of speech. Yeah, I see. Disorganized. I recently learned that word. Interesting. It's an interesting disorder. I don't know. Part of me feels like we should have figured it out like decades ago, or at least a number of years ago. But anyway, what about this one? Positive. Oh, I see. Come on. Lack of initiative. Disorganized speech, hallucination, solutions. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's a very interesting disorder. But yeah. Anyway, I just thought I would. Yeah, say that. I don't know. I need to study like the neuroscience aspect of this more. But yeah, that's my set of propositions. Tell me what you think in the comments. I've needed to make this video for a while, so yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video. And 33 minutes long. Wow. Okay. Yeah. You like this mic? I think it's pretty sick, man. I think I'm gonna start using it. I don't know. See, I have a Shure SM7DB, which is great, but I gotta plug it into an interface. I low-key just like this better. Like, I mean, how does that sound? Cause like, I don't know. Thing is, like, I don't want it to be like, I don't know. I'm trying to get the best audio, but also like I like to just the straight like USB mics like this one. So it's cost me cheap too, because it was missing a piece and still like really good condition though. So got a really good deal on it. Anyway, Fafine K688. All right, that's it. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I think that's it. I'm still memorizing the dictionary, by the way. Just going slowly, starting with the Merriam-Webster vocabulary builder. All right, that's it. Take care. God bless, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye. All right.